Thank you, Sue. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session on the outstanding end-to-end employee experience. Notice the words I'm using: outstanding. Not average or mediocre, outstanding. And I'll explain a little bit more of that as we go through. This is a topic, it's very topical at the moment. And throughout this power session, which I'm going to talk for about 40-45 minutes, I hope to share my experiences and insights, and then create some space and time at the end for question and answer, and also to listen to understand your insights and your perspectives. So, as Sue mentioned, my name is Mike Mayer from Mayer Development, but today I'm also taking the part of being a facilitator for ML&C, Management Learning and Culture. We've got 18 years of proven track record in management, learning and culture. We're also very much in a privileged position at the moment to be able to work with lots of different organisations and different people. That allows us to listen to understand what's going on in the world, learn, and it all helps and aids us with the research. So what we're going to share with you today is content based on past experience and very much current experience as well. In our view, we believe that post-pandemic, for every organisation, they've experienced a change in the supply and the demand and the structure. And the structure may be that they're actually growing rapidly and recruiting new people into the business, or it could be that they're finding some challenges and maybe have to downsize. Whatever happens, they've had a change in their structure. And as a result of that, there has got to have been an impact in their culture and their strategies. This is a really prime time and opportunity to support businesses with the outstanding end-to-end employee experience. There are lots of challenges, but there are lots of opportunities. And we believe that no business can ever be successful without its people. So the businesses who are investing in the end-to-end experience will in the long term reap the benefits. There is a view that one of the biggest challenges in business for 2023 will be engagement. How do you get people engaged with your business? How do you get them to work with them and give them that discretionary effort? And how do you enhance that work experience? So with that in mind, if we've got to look at our strategies and culture for people, there are three specific challenges. Number one is, how do we get the best and most out of our people? We want our people to be able to come into the workplace and have a great working experience. And us as leaders, it's our role to try and provide that outstanding end-to-end experience. We want our people to feel engaged and connected, and with a real sense of meaning, purpose, and belonging. And the third aspect that we want to be able to look at is that enhancing the employee value proposition, the EVP, and to ensure that for organisations they have a culture that helps people feel unique and different. This is the organisation that I work for. It builds that sense of pride, and one that fosters teams working in collaboration. And if you've got an outstanding culture, then that will help prevent negative experiences. We believe this now becomes a key performance indicator, but KPI in another sense: keep your people interested, keep your people informed, keep your people involved, and keep your people inspired. And in that way, you'll be building an outstanding experience. All of this, of course, is making sure you've got the balance and well-being. So, in mind, at ML&C, we believe this. We believe that exceptional leaders create outstanding teams, and outstanding teams create the culture. You know, just take a minute to pause and think about that. We've got exceptional leaders that are creating outstanding teams because they've got the right and best people in there, and those teams are then creating the culture. Think about this as a golden thread and going back through. If your organisation has got the culture that you aspire to and want to have, then that means that you've probably got outstanding teams who are being led by exceptional leaders. So, with that in mind, what gives that opportunity for being an exceptional leader? And at ML&C, we've created this outstanding end-to-end employee experience. And what we'd like to do now is to take a bit of time and go through each of these stages, and then to be able to share our views and our experiences and our thoughts, which would then give you the opportunity to benchmark where you're at with your organisation at the moment. For this part, I would invite you to have a pen and paper handy and to be able to create a spectrum. For each one of these stages, I'm going to talk to you about where I've seen it in real challenge and where I've seen it being best in class and outstanding. And then if you take that opportunity then just to plot on your spectrum where you think you are as an organisation, that will give you the benchmark of what you're already doing and you're outstanding at and its clear strengths, but it will also give you an opportunity to consider, maybe we've got an opportunity for development here. Okay, so assuming you've got a pen and paper handy, the first stage on here is looking at recruitment. Now, as we're talking about this and being a competitive candidate-driven market, where we know that recruitment can be time-consuming and can be challenging, it's really important that organisations create an inspiring and engaging recruitment process. And that way that then helps people believe and be happy that they've joined the right organisation. So just sharing the ends of the spectrum. Okay, so lots of people now are using these online interviews, and I can see the real reasons why this would be an absolute competitive advantage in getting to see more people more quickly. But if you ever ask, what does it feel like for the participant who's going on and doing that online interview? There are different views and feelings coming out of this that, okay, I can see the efficiencies, but I can also feel that this is really difficult and relies more on technology than on me. There is a view that some organisations are missing out on really good people from that approach. And one specific example I've got here is that somebody had went through the interviewing process like that, quite a challenging interview process, but they were successful. And then they're waiting for all the next bit of the recruitment process to come in place. They got the offer, they're starting the job, and they actually had been 3 days into their job and they still hadn't had access to the IT systems and whatever. And this person actually phoned up and said, can I get access to the systems? And the IT guy said, yeah, when are you starting? He goes, 3 days ago. Now, we think about that, that's a fair challenge in the recruitment perspective. It goes without saying that this person only lasted 3 months because they had a feeling of their organisation that this is not the place for them to be. Take that to the other end of the spectrum, and I've got a story to share where there's an organisation who've actually created a video book. You've been recruited, you've then got this video book, it's sent to you, you open it up, and there's a video of where you come in and park in the car park and how you get into the building and who you're going to meet and what's going to happen on your first day. And that is an amazing piece of work that has a significant feedback, and this is a great organisation I'm joining, not only for the individual, sharing with friends and family. Look at this from a PR exercise. So where are you in the spectrum? Are you there where your candidates are going through a challenging recruitment process and not being communicated to on a regular basis? Or are you at the other end of the spectrum where people who are joining on that first day have had a fantastic approach to recruitment? So the first part of the outstanding end-to-end employee experience is making sure that you've got a recruitment process that attracts and recruits in a competitive candidate-driven market. The next one we're going to look at is onboarding. And the real goal here has got to be for people to be integrated and effective as quickly as possible. You think if you've gone through all this recruitment process, it's really important that when someone then has joined the organisation, that they feel that they can be integrated and effective as quickly as possible. So here's another end of the spectrum, and think about where you're at with this one. Another story was shared, and I remember I'm using extremes here at both ends of the spectrum. The individual had been working in the organisation for 6 weeks
and hadn't yet met the manager. And the manager had just been sending information down, more and more demands, just get on with it, all that sort of stuff. So therefore, that individual, I've joined this organisation, I've had no onboarding, I'm basically thrown in the deep end, I'm asked to do all this. I am actually learning a fair bit, but there's no feeling that I'm valued here, I'm appreciated and I'm wanted. Again, that person, after 8 weeks, the decision was that this is not the place for me to be. Whereas the other end of the spectrum, we've recently worked with an organisation who've got a full onboarding programme in place. They really see this as a big part of their implementation, so much so that they've worked with our recruiting managers, and there's a 30, 60 and 90-day process in place where the recruiting managers meet after 30 days and just make sure that they've got everything that they need, that they're expected to have at this period of time. Again at 60 and again at 90, and then they are officially saying that the whole onboarding process lasts for that 90 days. The feedback that they receive allows them to recognise the strengths of where they are and the opportunities to continue and grow and develop their onboarding programme. Onboarding is a big part of the outstanding end-to-end employee experience. And if you want a further benchmark on what would make an outstanding onboarding success criteria, here's our reflections. That if you've got an approach in place that helps you understand the challenges of the new people who've joined you, that you can put things in place that allows them to accelerate their learning, learn what they need to learn quickly, that you build in something that helps them feel integrated and part of the team, and they get to know all their team members and the parts they play and feel invited and part of the team, that you've connected them with all the key stakeholders. So who are the people that they're going to have to interact and work with? Have you made that connection? Have you given them direction? What's expected of them, not only in their role, but the vision for the future of the business? Have you helped them get early wins? And in doing all that, have you also then been able to have that interaction and engagement and coach them for future success? So onboarding is really seen as a part of the outstanding end-to-end experience. Moving on to the third part, and if we taken the assumption that, say, onboarding probably lasts for about the 90 days, outstanding then is that I then get a realistic and seamless training plan. That I now know what I need to do to my job. I've been onboarded, I'm integrated and effective, and for me to be really skilled in the role that I've been employed for, there's a clear, laid out, effective development plan in place. For many organisations we're seeing at the moment, because we're trying to recruit so quickly, we need to get people in very quickly, that they're thrown into the deep end, just get on with it, good, we've recruited the person, ticking the box for that. But organisations who are taking that time to onboard effectively and then build in an effective training plan for the individual so they'll know what the key milestones are as they continue their career with that organisation, are seeing real advantages. If you build in something, it's a realistic training plan that's completed and people can then measure success and see how they are growing and improving the organisation, then that's seen as being outstanding. So where are you in the spectrum? Do you throw people straight in at the deep end and let them get on with it? Or do you have an effective training plan in place that can be measured and they can see success? Next thing that we have on here is ensuring that we've got a great working environment. So in a great working environment where you're making sure that you've got efficient and effective work processes and systems, that we understand the processes and systems that your people work in and that you're doing everything you can to make it great for them. And a system where people will be able to contribute through innovation and continuous improvement will bring sustainable business success. We've got collaboration, and we've got collaboration, then you're going to lead that into high performance. So again, different ends of the spectrum where people are coming in and they've got imposed work structures. This is how we do things and that's how it's done. And there's no opportunity for people then to share their insights, share their experiences, help the business continually grow and develop through their perspectives of the innovation and continuous improvement. Whereas the organizations who are spending time to listen to their people, remember, keep people interested, get them involved, hear how you can reduce waste and how you can improve quality, this is seen as being another outstanding part of the end-to-end employee experience. So what does your environment look like? Just get in and get on with it, or you create that time and space for people to contribute? Now, there is a view that from a strategic perspective as well, some of your best strategic consultants are your own people, because they know the environment that they're working in. And if you brought somebody new in, being able to look at it from a different perspective, then you've got a great opportunity to listen to, understand, and grow your business. So next up we have is the exceptional leadership. And what does an exceptional leader look like? So very much we're looking at this as being exceptional leadership, getting to know and look after your people. That as an exceptional leader, you set direction and people know what's expected of them, where they're going, and that you create an environment for people to engage, connect, and perform. Now, there's a lot in there. Know and look after your people, setting directions, and creating that environment for people to engage and connect and perform. But we're seeing a lot in organizations at the moment where it's getting really busy and people are expected to do more and more and more. And then there's a feeling that this is really quite challenging for people, and the leader's not finding that time to lead, then that's creating a challenge further down the exceptional leaders, standing teams culture. So lots of organizations at the moment are looking to invest time in their leaders to ensure that they give them that permission to pause and learn about this new world that we're in and help them be exceptional. But it does go down to these three areas: know and look after your people, set direction, and create the right environment. So exceptional leadership. The next area that we look in, it helps create that outstanding experience, is the strategy and vision. For the most of us, the basic human need is that I need to know what's expected of me. I need to have a sense of purpose and meaning, and I can see and feel that I have a future. So if you think I can come into the organization, recruitment's been outstanding, onboarding has been superb, I've got a great leader and manager, I've been trained, I need to know how to do my job really well, and you know what? I can see there's a real future and vision. This is all part of the outstanding experience. A lot of organizations that we have been working with recently have strategy and vision, but they haven't yet articulated and shared with our people to keep them involved and keep them interested and to keep them inspired. So it's really important that if a business has taken that time to build a strategy and vision, that they then articulate it and share it with our people. Strategy for me is about knowing what and where you want to be and by when, but also keeping it grounded in current reality so people can see the necessary milestones of, okay, that's where we're going, this is where we are at, and this is how we're going to get there. And I know my part to play, what's expected of me, gives me a sense of purpose and meaning, and I can see and feel that I have a future and a way forward. So outstanding end-to-end experience. If your people know and understand the strategy and vision of the business, and that you have a strategy and vision that's articulated, that adds to the end-to-end, outstanding end-to-end experience. So now we've moved on and we're starting to look at, do you know what? I want to come to work. I want to be able to do my best job, but also want to work in a team that I feel is outstanding, that I'm working with good people. And if you've done all the other aspects leading up to this, then you're amplifying that you've got an outstanding team. But how do you recognize and understand what makes a team outstanding? So we've got this looking at actually a team that fosters the talent, that is productive, where it can be innovation, and where I can feel loyal. And a big part of this is understanding the stages of the team cycle in the Tuckman model. As we see on the right-hand side here, the forming, storming, norming, and performing. Now, what we're seeing in a lot of organizations is interesting stage about the forming. As organizations are recruiting more and more people, almost at the team cycle, you're going back to the forming stage at each point. We're also seeing a lot of organizations really trying to accelerate things and getting through the storming stage. Actually, it doesn't matter which team, which organization, whether it's a sporting team, this is the natural stages of each team cycle. So it's important that we don't rush through the storming stage. This is where a lot of meaningful conflict comes in, because people are understanding their roles and positioning. And if organizations who are taking that time and developing their outstanding teams, given that permission to storm, are then accelerating into the next stages where there's the norming and the performing, a team are working it out together. Key thing here for me is the exceptional leader needs to understand and be able to demonstrate emotional intelligence, and needs to understand and build an environment where there's the psychological safe team. We know, and what we're seeing is that teams are being built because of recruitment, they're bringing in, but then they're just expecting people to get on with it. The organizations who are spending time looking at outstanding teams, then they're getting advantages of that. So where are you in the spectrum? Are you bringing the people in to join the team, or are you then bringing people in to join the team and to invest and develop them as a team? So the outstanding end-to-end experience for us is talking about developing, integrating, and making the individual effective, and then giving them that part to play in the team. So remember where we're at: exceptional leaders create outstanding teams, and then you're amplifying your odds that you will create the outstanding culture. So the outstanding team that fosters talent, productivity, innovation, and loyalty, and where your team that you understand and recognize the stages: forming, storming, norming, and performing. At this point, I would also add another stage that has been developed as part of this model, and that's the mourning stage. So what happens when a key member of your team leaves? How does the team feel, and what information are they taking away with them? So quite often we see in organizations that they will work on trying to get their team to performing, but miss a trick, and then having a look at, okay, what's happened now that a key member has led. So thinking about the teams in your organization, I've got teams, or are they outstanding? And outstanding in the spectrum would say the one that fosters the talent, productivity, innovation, and loyalty, and you understand where they're at in terms of the team cycle. So next up, we're looking at high performance. So this is really an interesting development, I think, in looking at understanding the performance measures and metrics within the organization, and really getting to the point as where we're using data as our mentor. It's really important that you understand the key metrics that you want to measure, and then you can build on that. So there is the organizations. If you think at the end of the spectrum, just get in, just get on, do your job, and we don't have the right metrics in place, so therefore we're not making the right decisions. Or have you got the metrics in place that allows you to see, okay, we're in that high performing zone because we're measuring this and we're seeing examples of it. If we have the right data in place and we're being able to feed back to teams and individuals where they are in terms of performance and the metrics, then you're building that as a work experience that I know and understand my part to play. A big aspect that we're seeing also now in organizations with a high performance is creating that culture of feedback. We believe that if you surround yourself with feedback, you can only get better. So in your organization, do you take that permission and that time to create a culture of feedback where it becomes the norm, where people can feed back to each other in a day-to-day basis? Research is indicating that if I can give feedback and people can accept it and receive it, we're working really well together, and that enhances performance. So in the spectrum, where do you sit? Do you have the right measures and metrics in place? Do your people know and understand the part to play? And do you have a culture of feedback where really you surround yourself with feedback and you can only get better? So that's looking at high performance. Now, as we said earlier on, all with balance and well-being. This is really important now. We see lots of organisations, and I'm sure that if you speak to friends and family, that you're getting this where people are high demands, have to have presenteeism. I know of some people at the moment who are working almost like really long hours, and the fact that a lot of people are now working from home is creating that actually I can log on earlier, I can log off later. I end up doing more work as a result. I'm getting more tired and run down. Okay, so it's really about organisations now understanding their people, the environment that they're operating in, whether it's at home or whether it's in the workplace, and ensuring that there is the right balance. Okay, for a lot of organisations, we're seeing that they're going through the well-being tick box exercise, and we'll put a well-being seminar in place. So there you go, you've been on the well-being seminar. The organisations at the other end of the spectrum, where they're investing time looking at well-being development plans, giving that people that permission to pause and talk about them as the individual, not about the technical aspects of the job, but how are you feeling? How's your energy? How are things for you? Organisations who have gone that far investing are reaping rewards because it's not then becoming a taboo subject, that we can openly talk about well-being and balance. So key thing for an organisation is that have you got at this end of the spectrum where you just demanding more and more and more, people are working long hours, they're being more present, and are they giving as much productivity as they could or should? Or as your organisation, are you helping people with the self-care, helping them understand how they can perform to their best every day, taking a genuine interest in being authentic in what you do? This is proven to add value to the retention and engagement of the people. We'll talk about self-care in a few minutes. We'll give you some tools and techniques to look at self-care, because where does self-care start? It starts with you, the individual. If you can look after yourself and be the best you can be every day, then that's going to add lots of value. So organisations who are helping people get the right balance are getting the benefits from this employee end-to-end experience. You can speak to friends and family. Who's telling you at the moment, high demands, high expectations, can't wait to Christmas, really want a break, tired, drained? Or where you speak to the organisations where there seem to be self-care is important, I'm feeling good about my job and I'm feeling good about myself. Balance is really important. The next area we're going to look at is our people development philosophy. So this is looking at where we can help people to grow, develop. People enjoy and embrace the opportunity to grow and develop and fulfill their potential. Now, we do recognise that for some organisations that there is limits to how much development can actually happen. But for an organisation who are investing in their people and making sure that there's a development plan in place, so this goes beyond the training. I've been trained to do my job and I can do my job really well. So take, for example, driving the car. Okay, I've passed my test, I've had all the training, I do what I need to do. The development comes then when I'm driving in the snow or in the ice or in the motorway or a longer distance. So it's then to be able to help people understand, okay, in your role, you're very effective in what you do. The training's been effective, you're doing a great job every day. But here are the opportunities for you to continue to grow and develop and fulfill your potential. The big advantages for organisations, of course, is then they can see about the talent and succession and then build that for future success. So, scales of the spectrum. Do you spend real time having development conversations with your people? Many organisations, we are seeing that they're not investing that time to help people to grow and develop. Or are you at the other end of the spectrum where you're looking at the development, you're talking all about your people? Very common, we're seeing organisations now using the 9-box grid to be able to look at where the people are and to be able to help individuals grow and develop, have a real understanding of where the talent and the high potential is in their organisation, have a real understanding where the high performance is, not necessarily high potential. The key factor is, do you talk about your people and do you see the development for them as an individual, but also in that look into the future of your business. So as we continue to grow and change in this ever-changing world, what are the skills and the attributes that we need for the future? Organisations who are taking time to invest in people development and having a clear approach and philosophy for it are reaping the rewards and successes. So the next area we're looking at here is what will make an outstanding end-to-end experience is that you have the culture that you aspire to. So you're just thinking about the ends of the spectrum. Where you're working at the moment, are you in the organisation that you probably describe as toxic, where people are considering leaving? I think in the Great Resignation, I heard some figures the other day saying that at any one time, 61% of people are considering leaving your organisation. Of course, as they do, that has an impact. But we've then got the other end of the spectrum where organisations are fully embedded, clear values, where people are living and breathing the values in every day. An outstanding culture for me aligns the vision, the purpose, the core values, and the ethics of your organisation. And from a core values point of view specifically, I'm also seeing another spectrum. The first is the organisation, we don't have any core values. The second is that an organisation, we have core values, but honestly, they're not worth the paper they're written on. And then we've got the other organisations who are at the part of this exciting journey, who, because of all the changes in their supply, demand, and the structure, they're investing time looking at their culture and thinking, these are the values of organisation will help us be successful. So that's an exciting stage for organisations. And the other end of the spectrum is the ones where they've got fully embedded and they're seeing that competitive advantage through their people. So how is your culture? Thinking about exceptional leaders, standing teams, culture. Do you have the culture that you require and aspire to have? And if you have, then you're at that end of the spectrum. If not, then we have that opportunity. The next stage is looking at the reward and the recognition. And for me, this goes beyond the well done and thank you. How are people in your organisation rewarded and how do you recognise it? We have seen at one end of the spectrum where there's managers and leaders thinking, well, they're doing their job, there's no need for us to give any reward and recognition. Whereas at the other end of the organisation where a culture of feedback is fully embedded and people are then being able to give real clear feedback and recognition that goes with it. Of course, a key part of the reward is, are all the people in your organisation getting a fair deal in terms of salary and everything else that goes with the compensation packet? But people then need to know that my part plays. One of the highest indicators of people thinking that I may not leave the organisation is that I'm rewarded and I'm recognised and appreciated. So in terms of spectrum, where are you with your people? Do your people feel rewarded, recognised and appreciated? The next area that we want to look at and we see as part of the outstanding end-to-end learning employee experience is accelerating the learning. Learning for business results is now more than ever an imperative. We have to be able to provide the right learning for people to be doing their jobs well every day. And a key part of accelerating the learning for me is learning with greater effectiveness. and we think about things like speed reading, mind mapping, memory skills, and a learning methodology that's coming to the fore now on micromastery. All four of those methodologies are about not only helping people learn what they want and need to learn, but how to learn with greater effectiveness. In your organisation, the number of hours in a day remain the same. The amount of learning that needs to happen now for your organisation to be successful is huge. So how can you do things that helps people accelerate that learning? I saw an interesting article in LinkedIn the other day where it was talking about where organisations are reducing the investment in people development and learning development, and then the consequences of doing so. The organisations who are investing, but at the same time looking at ways of accelerating that learning, will grow and flourish quicker in this new world that we're in. So with that in mind, just like you to introduce you to the concept of micromastery, and you're going to get opportunity to have these slides, and you'll get a copy of this slide, but this is one on self-care, so very relevant at the moment in talking about people having the self-care. But micromastery is based on 4 key stages. What's your context? In learning, we sometimes struggle to really understand what the context is and what people want to achieve. Once you've been able to understand your context, if you go at the bottom here, it's then, okay, if we've got the context, what would be your payoff? What's in it for you? What competitive advantage would you get as a result of that learning? Okay, I understand my context, I understand my payoff. But how do I get started? So what's your way in? And then this one here is particularly talking about creating a self-care map. Key difference for micromastery for me is that I understand my context, I know how to get started, but if I don't do anything with it, then I'm not going to progress. So micromastery is about creating the next stage in the journey, which is purposeful practice. So what are you going to do to grow and enhance that skill and capability? So a learning methodology that's proven to accelerate learning in businesses at the moment: context, my way in, my purposeful practice, and my payoff. So if anyone would like to discuss that in more detail afterwards, then we can talk about here. Included in the slides will be a copy of Micromastery and Self-Care, and what I would strongly encourage you to do is to read this through and go and create your own self-care map. So another area that's really seems to be impacting organisations now is business intelligence. So for organisations, lots of them are experiencing the knowledge drain. So you're thinking about that key person in your organisation who's leaving, whether it's through redundancy or career development or retirement. A lot of organisations are struggling with it. That person is leaving. Now what do we do? Typically on a Monday morning after they've left, there's frustration because people don't know what they need to do, and there's an inefficiency built into the business. Organisations who are investing time in onboarding and essentially offboarding, which is capturing business intelligence, are seeing competitive advantages. Because what's that doing is it's pulling all that information and knowledge from the individual as they leave. And in doing that, you're then making sure that you're building in efficiencies and helping people to be effective. Somebody's got to learn that new role. It's not necessarily all the technical aspects of a role. It may be about who's your key contacts, who do you work with, how did you learn what you learned, those sort of things that are coming into it. If you've got all of that information and you can capture it and you share it in periods of rapid growth, then your organisation will carry on seamlessly. But also the organisations who are investing in this are seeing opportunities to improve their business. So for example, if it was me who was leaving and I worked in your organisation, if I'm explaining and sharing my business intelligence, purely because you've got a different perspective, you will be able to see it from a different perspective and you'll see opportunities to improve business. So therefore, for a lot of organisations, they're seeing this as giving a competitive advantage. respect the past, the contribution of that individual. They've been really good at this. Now we can actually take it and improve. And of course, another key component of this, particularly if someone's leaving an organisation, is to be able to say hello and goodbye with equal amount of enthusiasm. So if you've had an outstanding onboarding programme, at the other end, when somebody's ready to leave an organisation, how do they feel? Evidence would indicate if an organisation's taken time to ask about my experience, I've felt a lot better about it, and I can leave and go. And interesting, a lot of what we're seeing at the moment as well, there's a lot of people maybe leaving, trying something new, and then coming back to the organisation. So if you've left on good terms, that's great. But what is really important here is that we don't get damaged by the knowledge drain. And organisations who are taking time to capture that information have been able to ensure efficiencies, opportunities for improvement, and it feels a great part of my work experience that I've been able to leave on good terms. Now, interestingly, this approach has been put in for mostly when people were leaving organisations. But we're also spending time with organisations using the same approach. Well, actually, we're going through rapid periods of knowledge. New people are coming in, new systems, new processes. And if we don't take the time to capture and share it, where does that business intelligence go? So taking an approach called after action review, we're working with quite a few organisations to say, permission to pause, what have we learned, what do we capture, what do we share? And there's a real competitive advantage that comes from that. Okay, so that kind of takes us through all the content. As I say, you'll get a copy of the slides. And when you get a copy of the slides, you also get this end-to-end experience audit, where you can actually sit there and have a view. Do we have a vision for all of these things in place? What's our strategy? Have we implemented it? And therefore, that should give you an opportunity to see where your clear strengths are, or where there's opportunities for you to enhance your end-to-end employee experience and ensure that it's outstanding. What you'll also get is a copy of the ML&C white paper that you'll be able to go in there, click it and download it, and then you'll be able to get the information from the content of these slides written in a white paper format. Okay, so I've been talking now for approximately 45 minutes, which I said I would, and now it's opportunities for any participant to come in and ask any questions or share any comments.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, we do have a few questions come in. A lot of them around culture and employee experience. So I'll kick off then. So first question is about how do we actually communicate our culture and our employee experience to new or prospective recruits?
So I would say that the culture is very much the alignment of the vision. So when I join an organisation, new recruit, I know what the future of the company is and where they're going. What's the mission? And where are the core values? What are the core values of our organisation? And if that's very clear to me, then I get the necessary communication and training for the vision, purpose, and core values. Then that helps me build that culture. Remember, if organisations are recruiting based on their culture, they're then amplifying the odds that the people that's joining the organisation will be a cultural fit. So therefore, that's giving the advantages. There's lots of organisations who are not even considering the cultural fit yet, and therefore there's sometimes challenges with the recruitment. But if I've considered all of these, and that the recruitment approach, one of my considerations is, will this person be a cultural fit? And that's all then articulated when they join the organisation and they get the necessary training. That will really accelerate and enhance the culture.
Okay, thank you. So this person has asked that they're stating that they have a very small core but office-based team and a much larger remote workforce. and they'd like to know what you think the most effective way is to maintain team connections across the whole company in order to build upon and maintain a positive culture. So it's having that excuse me, that diversity of having a small central team, they're office based, a much larger remote workforce, and how do you actually maintain that culture across both discrete parts of the company?
I think it's a really good question, and it's a big challenge for organisations at the moment. For some organisations, will tell you they've always got two cultures,
but ideally you want to be able to have one. And this is the bit about being able to understand the environments and systems that people are operating in. I'll share you what with you. I met somebody yesterday and they talked about a session that I'd facilitated, and we covered through some of the challenges of the organisation and the opportunities. And their piece of feedback was, do you know what was the biggest difference, Mike? That we created the time and space for people to talk and share. So I think that would be, if there's any way that that can happen, that whether you can get the people who work remotely, whether they can come in and spend some time with you and you create that environment. So the people who are working in the office based understand what it's like to work remotely, and the people who work remotely understand what it's like to work in the office at the moment, and then see where's that synergies and see where that opportunities are. Obviously, you can get them face to face and give that permission to pause and talk about us being an outstanding team. What would make us an outstanding team? Then that's great. But if they can't get them face to face, then I would suggest that there's a way that you can try and do it online. Key thing for me is what makes an outstanding team in your organisation? The people can see it, feel it, and understand it because they've created it together. And you'll amplify your odds of your team being outstanding.
Okay, thank you. Great advice there. Next question then is, what sorts of questions should we be asking our employees to ensure that they are clear about our culture and that everyone is really understanding what we mean by our culture across the business?
Okay, so we'll take the assumption then as part of your culture you've got core values. There's almost like three aspects to that. With them working with the new people, have they been able to recognise somebody else in their organisation demonstrate the core values? And that way then they're being able to see it in the organisation, and that they're then building in an understanding of what the core values are. They're starting to use the language. The second part is, where have they demonstrated the core values? Would then be able to articulate, actually, I understand what the core values are, and this is when I was in this meeting or on this event or on this production line or whatever, this is how I demonstrate the core values. And the third aspect is to create that culture of feedback where it's the norm for people to feedback onto each other what's great about their style and how they demonstrate the core values. So in my experience, the ways to really accelerate this is, can they recognise it in others? Can they recognise it in self? And can they get feedback from others and give feedback to others? That builds the language, that builds the understanding, and it's a way of having a culture that's lived and breathed on a daily basis.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And next question is, how do we encourage sign up to the culture of the business? So this person has also said that their business is quite small. They've taken on some new recruits recently, but they don't seem to be signing up to the vision and the culture of the business as a whole. So what can this person do to actually encourage those new recruits to be more on board?
Create the environment and space to talk about the culture. Again, I
can't emphasize enough, it's that permission to pause. If the culture is really important, which it should be, then you've got to create the time and space for people to have that conversation. The starting point of that, of course, is in recruitment. If this is your culture and this is your values, it almost needs to be part of the recruitment process. So that amplifies your odds, your recruiting somebody that's a cultural fit. But once they're in, it's about then having that time to work with them, and then they get that understanding. There is a third aspect to that, unfortunately. In many occasions, we've seen where somebody's joined an organisation and actually it's not the right cultural fit. And conversations have then had to be had that the individual either can adapt or unfortunately they may have to leave. If you've got an inspired culture, then everyone in your organisation needs to be able to demonstrate, understand and play their part in that culture. And sometimes there may be some casualties.
Okay, thank you. And this is from somebody who's currently looking for a new position. And they said, as a prospective employee, what should they be asking at interview? What questions should they be asking at interview about culture, about finding out a business's culture?
Oh, that's a good question. What should be asked? Purely starts with what's the culture of your organisation. If you can go into websites and see do they talk about the culture, do they talk about the core values, then you've got that as a starting point. That's a key thing I always, when I'm doing interviewing skills with people, you have to be able to go in and have a look and see if you can pick up the culture on there. Now, a lot of organisations haven't got to that stage yet, that they're talking about the culture and their values on there. So it then really opens up, what is it like to work in this place? What can I expect to happen? And what are the things that's key and important to you? So, for example, will I be able to grow and develop? Will I be able to understand the strategy and the vision? So really, if you were going to pick the organisation and the team that you want to go and work with, what is your criteria for culture? And then you'll be able to work out, actually, I don't want this job, or absolutely they're a spot on for me. So what are the things that's important to you? And then to be able to see and articulate those questions in the interview stage.
Yes, I always feel that, you know, when you're in an interview situation, the organisation that is interviewing you is as much on interview as you are as the interviewee. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that as a significant change in recent years, particularly with things like LinkedIn and all that. I remember conducting an interview and somebody was telling me about me, and how do you know? I've looked you up on LinkedIn. And you think, right, so it becomes
really important that it's both ways there, is it? You're also interviewing the organisation to see if that's where you would like to work.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Just looking, I don't think there are any more questions, but thank you for those that have sent them through already. Just checking, no more questions today, thank you. So thanks, Mike, for sharing your knowledge with us again today. Thank you for everybody that's joined us. The recording will be on the IIRSM Resource Hub either later today or tomorrow, and you'll be able to catch up and recap on anything in your own time. So we'll leave the webinar there. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks again, Mike, and we look forward to seeing you all again at another IIRSM webinar in the near future. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.